Peggy, do you buy that this was for the, as the airline said, the safety and comfort of all customers?
No, I'm sorry, I don't buy that. Kevin was already seated, armrests down, seatbelt fastened, which are the criteria that Southwest says a passenger must meet. And the ladies on each side of him were asked if they felt encroached upon or interfered with or inconvenienced, and they said no. So I don't know why he was removed.
So you're saying it's discrimination?
Absolutely.
Mimi, what about that? Discrimination?
Southwest Airlines is a customer-centric airline. They have no upside in going after a famous director. I don't think there's any airline employee who ever wants to have that kind of conversation. We have to trust the judgment of the professionals. If they observe anything that could compromise the safety of the passengers, they've got to act upon it. They have one priority. Wheels up, wheels down, everybody's safe. And the reality is, if they saw something that wasn't safe, they had to take action. Imagine if something had gone wrong. Imagine if they'd let him fly because they're a big fan of his, and something had gone wrong with the seat. It was not able to stay in its locked and upright position, because when someone's oversized, it has a tendency to press against that release. Or if he blocked the row, or if there was a part of him hanging out into the aisle. These are compromises to safety, and we would expect an airline to do something about it. They gave him a $100 voucher. I've never been given a $100 voucher for fitting in my seat.
Well, since he was in the middle seat.
I mean, this airline, this policy has been in place for 25 years. Just about all airlines have now a similar policy. And I mean, if it bothers another passenger or has the potential to bother another passenger, if somebody's sitting next to, if they asked, you say they asked the people on either side of him, though I don't know if they did that when in front of him, and if people felt okay saying
he reported
that he reported it.
Yes.
I mean, do you think it's, it certainly could inconvenience another passenger if somebody is larger than their seat and encroaching on their seat, no?
I agree that could inconvenience other passengers, but in this case it was not inconveniencing anyone. They said it was not. But, Mimi says he could be hanging out in the aisle. Since he was in the middle seat, that's a little difficult to understand how he might be hanging out into the aisle.
The airlines all have a similar
interrupt you.
policy.
I would appreciate if you didn't interrupt me.
Let her finish. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have a personal friend who was in a similar situation, and she was pulled out of line, waiting to board, and forced to buy a second seat. She told them that she could get the armrests down and her seatbelt fastened, didn't need an extender, and had never needed an extra seat prior to that. But they forced her to. Once everyone was boarded, then they came back and took her seat away from her and sold it to someone else. Now, that's not just discrimination. That's being bullied.
Well, there's a couple things.
The average coach seat, airline seat, is only 17 inches, which, they're small for just about everybody. There's a Text 360 question we got from a viewer in Monroe County, Florida, who says, why don't airlines cater to people of larger weight? They accommodate the handicap. So there's some people who say, look, airlines should have some bigger seats set aside for people who are larger size and charge more for them if necessary.
What they're really expecting us to do is subsidize the lifestyle choices of those
who
habitually eat improperly.
No, we're not.
In almost all cases.
Don't interrupt Mimi now. Let Mimi say her piece, and then we don't need to talk over each other.
Look,
Mimi, go ahead.
Kevin Smith is a talented comedic director and writer. He said just over a year ago that his weight had gotten so out of control that he broke a toilet. You mentioned earlier, Anderson, that he regularly buys 2 seats. In this situation, he tried to fly standby. He didn't buy the typical 2 seats because they weren't available. We can't expect lifestyle choices to be subsidized by other passengers. We can't expect the safety of other passengers to be compromised as a result of lifestyle choices. He has the right to do whatever he wants, but we can't be expected to subsidize those decisions.
Peggy, go ahead.
Well, he said and was very clear about the fact that he can fit very easily into one seat and not violate any rules. His reason for buying a second seat was because he doesn't like a stranger being up next to him. In this particular case, he wanted to get home earlier, so he was willing to cooperate with that and take only the one seat.
Peggy, do you support the notion of larger seats set aside by an airline that people would pay more for?
I absolutely do. And in fact, there is a designer of airline interiors and airline seats right now, an engineer who's working on, has already...
Right. Obviously, that's a money decision by the airlines.
Right. Exactly.
Mimi, I want to give you just the final thought.
Look, we can't expect ourselves to have to cover the cost of those who refuse to eat a healthful selection of foods. And that's what this is about. The guy doesn't eat healthfully. He admits to it. He wasn't able to buy 2 seats. If you need to buy 2 seats, if you need to use 2 seats, you need to buy 2 seats. That wasn't an accommodation the airline could make in this instance. But Southwest always tries to do the right thing, as do all the airlines. I think it was, a good move on their part to apologize. Kevin Smith wasn't having it, and he does have that movie coming out. I think that's a big part of this.